Hello, and welcome to Putting You on the Spot, the podcast that puts you in the spotlight. Today, we have a singer, a classically trained singer that just released a brand new EP. Let's give it up for Stevie M.
Thank you.
Hello, nice to see you. How are you?
I'm great. And just FYI, it is not a classical EP. It is a pop EP.
Yeah, so you are classically trained, right? You're a classically trained singer that got your start in opera music, correct?
Professionally, yes. I think, I was one of those kids that was obsessed with Whitney Houston and everything. So I think pop is probably my first love. And then I started studying musical theater, and then it went from there. I went to school for music, became a classical singer, and I have come full circle. And now I'm back in the pop arena.
Oh, that's great. And you're releasing a self-titled debut EP. Is this your first release?
Yes, ever.
Oh.
I released singles from it, but this is the first collection.
All right, congratulations. So tell the people where they can find you, where they can find your EP.
Okay, so you can find my music on all music platforms, including Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Play, whatever that is, Google Music, TikTok, all the things. Should I tell them about what happened?
Yeah. I think the viewers are going to want to know because by the time they hear this, it should hopefully be fixed. But there's a possibility that there might be a little bit of an issue. So,
So rookie mistake. I went to go edit my release because I liked an order of songs better. But what I didn't realize that I did was I only reordered the titles of the songs, not the songs themselves. So each song on my collection of songs on the album itself will be mistitled. It will not be the title you think. However, if you go to the singles, those are all correct. So if you want to listen and know what it is, you can get the single. However, if you get the album, it will be corrected. I'm hoping, ASAP. And then it will all be a funny story.
And hopefully, again, by the time people listen, that'll be able to be fixed. So you had released it in a particular order, but then decided that the songs flowed better in a different order, went to try to reorder them in the release, but it only reordered the titles, not the actual songs.
So I emailed them today frantically, and we will see what becomes of that, but I can't really do anything until I actually hear back. So we're going to give it up to the universe. And it will be what it will be.
The digital age, it's really interesting because it's like things are so much easier. The way we can just post music, we can post our views, our thoughts, and get them out there. But if something goes wrong, there's no humans behind anything anymore. Everything's algorithms and computers.
Yeah. And I was like looking for some number. Like, there's got to be some number. Some number. No, there isn't.
That's infuriating. Like I just had to redo my license, and through COVID, everything's like for an eye exam, you got to go get an appointment, and everything has to be done online. I go to sign into my DMV thing, and it turns out it's attached to an email that I no longer use. So I also have a fishing license that apparently I have on a different account. So you can have multiple accounts for the New York State website, and so to get to my DMV one, I wound up calling one person that transferred me to another person that transferred me to another person. It took about 2 days and a total time of about 6 hours to finally get my New York State DMV online access. It was such a horror show.
Because it's bureaucracy, you know what I mean? It's like, you need this kind of form. You didn't fill out this form. You got to go all the way back to the beginning.
Yep. Or then I call one person. Oh, you need to talk to this department. They give me a number. I call them. I'm waiting. I'm on hold. Yeah. No. Yeah. This is the wrong department. The next one. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is. So, but at least you have your music out there. So that's fantastic. Congratulations on that. So walk us through a little bit of your background. So, classically trained. What got you started with music to begin with?
Well, I was like one of those little annoying kids who would like tap dance along with the Annie movie and like rewind it and watch it again and rewind it and watch it again. Like we didn't have Frozen yet. That was like my Frozen. And so, and then I would like kind of sing at all the family functions, and it just became the thing that I like knew I was going to do. Very annoying, I'm sure. And so I didn't really know what capacity, but I wanted to study music in college. So I went to the Korean School of Music, which is a classical school. And I was kind of like, whatever, I'll just learn what I need to, but then sing my whatever music. And by the time I left there, I had kind of drank the classical Kool-Aid, and I was like, yes, I'm a very serious opera singer now. I'm going to go to grad school and, do this thing. And I did, and it was cool. And I got to do some beautiful roles. And then I went on to do some regional opera in New York. And I really just like to do more than one thing. And classical music is so strict and so specific. It's not a dig. It's just very involved. It's hard. And so I was finding that my energies were kind of dissipated because I really wanted to keep an arm here. I still wanted to sing jazz. I still wanted to sing musical theater. I still would kind of like sneak my little pop tunes into my warm-ups and stuff. And I never wanted to forget how to sing all of those other things in the name of singing classically. And it was really kind of frowned upon where I was. And they're like, oh, I don't know why you want to do that cute little music, but you should really just stick to this. And I just started like not having joy with it. So I decided like, what would happen if like I was hitting a milestone birthday and I was like, what am I doing? Like what I kind of realized I never am going to think that I'm perfect at this thing. I was like, I'll put it off until I feel really, really good about the classical. Then I'll work everything back in. I'm like, that's never going to happen. Like, you're just never perfect. You're never going to think you're perfect ever, or like good enough even. You're going to keep wanting that next. So I said, what if I just kind of audition for like a couple of non-classical things? And I ended up getting like a lot of stuff. I got like some cabaret work. I got a pop gig singing at a bar, Seasons 52 in Garden City. If anyone remembers that, I was one of the players behind the bar. That was amazing. And I just loved like sitting there and like playing Elton John and Sarah Bareilles for 4 hours. And I would just look down at the piano and look up and the set would be done. And I'd be like, this is amazing. So I got to join a jazz band and stuff like that. And I was like, there's more out here for me. So I started doing more of like the crossover singer thing. And then I had a setback that affected my throat. And it was I had like some bad bronchitis issues. And then I had some like swelling. And then because of my like autoimmune things, it kind of made my voice change a little. I think it's temporary. And there was a period for most of a year where I really couldn't sing at all. And I said, like, what am I going to do with this? And I was taking voice therapy, and I'm a voice teacher, so I know how these things work. You know what I mean? So, like, I can sing around it to a point, and then I couldn't. So in that quiet time, I was like, what are we doing with this? Like, what are we doing with the singing? What do we want to do? And then I started, hearing melodies, hearing lyrics again, which I hadn't since I was a teenager because I wanted to just be serious and pursue classical music. And I didn't let myself write because, who's going to do a new thing with those 4 chords? Me? No. So I started writing again, and I was like, oh my God, there's something to this. And then I said, what if I just wrote songs that my like crappy new voice could sing and just did it that way? And then I was able to get on a medicine and I got better. So not all better, but better. And so I have a nice little rasp going on that's apparently appreciated. People like it. But it makes it a little bit more difficult to sing some classical pieces. And also I don't care. And I like, I feel so free doing this that I will always love opera and I will always sing and teach classically, but I'm cool doing this for now. And learning about recording and all the stuff and the EQ and the compression and those other words that I know.
A whole new world is opening up to you. So it's interesting. Like, you hear this with a lot of singers and stuff like that, even sometimes some that have been out on the road, never, on their first big tour or their second big tour, wind up hurting their vocals because maybe, getting caught in the party life or just not being used to of using their instrument that much that people wind up damaging their voice or getting sick or something like that. And then coming back with, now something's changed a little bit and having to relearn, how to sing. And sometimes like a beautiful new sound comes out of that. And what's great with you is you always had this love for pop music to begin with. So now while it was a little harder to sing in your classical style, you still have all that training on how to do it, but now you had to readapt it. Yeah, and you wanted to readapt it, and now but you have a whole new style to move with that. So like, and what you were saying with the classical, because like I went to a performing arts college.
Oh,
and so like I went for film and video, but I was around a lot of musicians, and while they were fantastic, some of the people that when they were training classical, we would try to jam and they just could never think outside the box. And they were incredibly talented, but they're like, oh no, that chord structure doesn't work. You can't add a minor ninth to like, the scale progression.
Like, I don't do that.
Yeah, and it's like, but the most notable people out there were people that took what was there, thought outside the box, and that's why they've been known for generations now afterwards. Like some people forget that, and then jazz, especially freeform jazz, became, the most freedom of expression out of that. And some of the early guys doing it, like that, people hated them. They're like, what is this insanity?
Weird stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then even jazz fusion rock, and that started in like, the late 60s and 70s with like Mahavishnu Orchestra. And, like there was so much like, I don't know how to explain it. Just that thinking outside the box that really helped music grow. And even Randy Jackson was doing a podcast with somebody recently, and he was talking about, early freeform jazz and jazz fusion, how it was like, these guys that had all this talent and skill, but were able to like free flow into new things, and like that being the ultimate, freedom of expression as a musician. But you got to know your shit, because you got to bring your A game with these guys, because everybody still has that classical training, that brings out.
It's good to like know. It's good to know where the box is. Mm-hmm. And it's because it's better when you go outside the box, because you like know that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Like you can break the rules, but they're better when you break them on purpose. But it can be a little bit like exclusive. Like, do not leave this. This is no, anything out here is like, it's just don't. And I just never wanted that. I'm not slamming it, because it's hard and it's good and
Absolutely.
It's good to learn. But I don't know. I like so many different things, and that's why I love being a voice teacher too, because people will bring me their gospel solos and their arias and their rock songs, and I get to do it all in a day. I just love that. Like I'm not going to give that up, for one of them. So here we are. I had this conversation with myself where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can just teach now. Maybe I'll just be a good coach, and that's it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not done. I'm just not done. Like, so I was like, we're going to keep going. We're going to figure it out. And then I was able to deal with my little autoimmune issues, and that made it a lot better. So, and so here we are.
Yeah, the autoimmune issues, that must be real difficult, especially right now. But then also at the same time, as we were talking about with technology, remote recording and producing is a possibility now. So that must have been a godsend.
It took COVID to do it. Yeah, because I recorded maybe half of the EP out here at in studios. And I really, because I love that that kind of work when you collaborate with the technicians and the engineers, and they're like, you know what, do it again. I think you got a better take, but really come with this energy. And we just had such a fun time that I didn't want to stop doing that. But I learned that doing it on your own can be really rewarding too, because then it's kind of like, if you're not feeling it, like you take a break. You're not like, I paid for this time. We are getting this take, You're like, I'm going to just, I'm going to watch some Real Housewives. I'll come back, Or like if you're practicing and you're really in a groove and I'm like, oh, I got it right now. You can hop right on the mic and just do it, Mm-hmm. So I've grown to really love that. And I don't know if I would go back. Because then also, if I do have something that's acting up, I don't have to feel really pressured.
Yeah. The studio environment, as fun as it can be, the fact that, not a lot of us have like super expendable income, so sitting in the studio, you're pressured, like, I'm paying, a couple of $100 an hour. I need to make sure I get this right. And then, you feel that pressure, then screw up a take, and like, it makes it harder to get that next take. I've been there, definitely been there.
I have to say Suffolk Recording Studios did a great job though, recording me. but I will go back because we have one song sort of still in the can, if you will, because we didn't finish it and everything shut down.
Well, that's for, in about a year from now when you release the special edition.
No, I'm hoping to do the next one. Hopefully it won't take me a year. It took me a year this time because we got shut down for a few months. And it took me a while to get the right equipment and like learn how to use it. Because I'm not a buttons gal. You know what I mean?
I understand. So who did you work with that helped you produce, some of the music and everything and help you with the arrangement?
Okay, so I got some great producers. JJ Hoffner, who's out here, did Beauty Shine, and also that one that got shut down. He's working on that too. I had a producer in New York City help me do Phoenix. This is kind of a mix because I was still learning everybody. And then the great Chris Bradley produced Strut. She was amazing. I will be working with her again when I can afford it. And let's see. 1, 2. Let's Go Blast Off was Geo Works out in LA. This is the cool thing too. A lot of my producers are out in LA. And like I can have like a mix engineer in Nashville, it's really cool.
Yeah. So totally different world. It's fantastic.
David, I can't forget David Thiel, who did Boss of My Life, and also a Christmas song that we recorded that I will put out next season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, you have a great team with you because I've gotten to listen to some of the music and the production is fantastic. And like your songwriting as well, it's very catchy and like your range is very evident in your music. You could tell that you have the chops, to back everything up.
I figured out that I sing 3 full octaves. Who cares, right? But but Beauty Shine sings down to a low E flat, and then Boss of My Life I interpolate up to it.
It's
interpolate.
crazy.
I interpolate. Everybody, I sing up to a high E, and I was just like, hey, that's cool. But that makes it annoying to have to sing it like all. Not that I have to do that high note. It's just an ad-lib, but.
Yeah, but it's also you feel a certain thing, like the way I write music, like some of my solo music and everything like that. Like I'm not much of a singer. I wish I would have done vocal training when I was younger. But like I hear stuff in my head, and I tend to write stuff in a much higher register than I can actually sing. So, but it's how I hear it.
Because I have this theory that people write for their own ranges, and I feel like it's not always true. Nothing's like always true, but I feel like I want to hear you sing now because I feel like I can get you there. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe another day.
Yeah, another day. Because I'm always like, if you wrote it, you can probably sing it, and I'll get you there healthfully, or I'll just tell you, no, it's not in your range.
Yeah. So, but maybe we'll talk about some vocal lessons for the future because I could totally use some. So, but you said you were a professional opera singer. So take us a little bit through that. How was that process like? Where were you performing?
Okay, so I came out of grad school with a master's, whatever, and I had my little 5 arias that you present as your aria package, and they show different styles and different.
Now, what's an aria package?
It's like your aria is the kind of big song in the opera.
Okay.
So it's your number, and so you pick 5 of them from different languages. You have an Italian, a French, an English, a German, and then like a choice snazzy piece. Mine was a Czech piece from the opera Rusalka, which is like the Czech version of The Little Mermaid, pretty much.
Okay.
And you present those, and you sing and you sing, and you get a lot of no and a lot of no and a lot, just like every other music thing. And then you get cast in something small, or maybe a cover, which is like an understudy, and they get to know you, and then they might cast you again. So the only thing is, I'm going to say a thing. Am I going to say a thing?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm going to say. Okay. So opera is not a very popular style of music in the general consensus of American culture. It's a kind of niche, kind of niche. So there isn't a broad market. So there's a lot of trouble funding it from the bottom up. There's a lot of funding at the top, but there's not a lot of trickle down. So when you're coming up, they really kind of make it impossible for you to, not impossible, but impossible for you to kind of move up without having a lot of money, because opera auditions cost money. Did you know that?
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
It costs money to audition, and sometimes it costs money to apply to audition.
Wow.
Yeah, like competitions.
So maybe a little elitist.
Yeah. And then if you get a role, I'm not bad mouthing. I still love it. I still like did a TikTok where I recorded the Lock Me duet, whatever. I still love it. But when you get it, it's like they pay you for the show, but you have to coach the entire role before you get there. Like you have to come in with it learned, which means you have to work with a coach who's going to make sure that your diction is correct, your Italian's right, you're translated, you know what you're singing about, your voice teacher has worked with you on the high parts and the hard parts, and you have enough stamina to make it through singing through the whole thing. And that's an aerobic activity. That's hard. You know, that's physical training that you have to do. And of course it gets better in rehearsals, but like you have to know what you're doing. And so that costs a lot of money. So you're already really out of pocket before the show even starts. And they don't pay you enough that it would warrant the money you just spent. So you have to do it for the love, which means you have to have a side job or a regular job. And it's just grueling. And then I don't know. It just kind of sucked the soul out of me a little bit. So I chilled on it. And then I just did more like concert gigs and church gigs and all that. That's fun too. And then I started branching out more into musical theater. And so, because at least musical theater, you don't have to pay to audition and you get paid for the show, but you don't have to do as much rigorous coaching. Like you can kind of learn it as you go. And so that's fun. And you get to dance, which I love. So, you know, it kind of, I just realized I was trying so hard to get cast that I wasn't performing with love and with passion. And then it all kind of dried up for me. And I'm like, what's wrong? I must suck at this. And then I'm like, you know what? I watched an episode of this show where they sell wedding dresses. It wasn't Say Yes to the Dress. It was like another one. And she was like, I'm not selling any wedding dresses. And then she was like, oh, because my desperation is showing. And then she, at the end of the show, she like made the bride feel so good and gave her champagne and was like so excited for your wedding. And then she bought a dress from her and she was like, see, I brought the love back. And I'm like, oh, see, I'm not bringing the love. And I love so many kinds of music that I didn't love it enough to just stick with that. So I went away. And it can also be quite judgy, like more so than any other style of music. Like pop music is judgy enough, but the culture is judgier. Like, so if you go on, I mean, I guess this might be the same with anything. If you go on like the best opera recording you've ever heard, like Maria Callas singing Tosca or something, and you go down the comments, you're going to hear some vitriol, like about her, you know, about, oh, she was bad after she did this thing and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like these are other opera singers saying that, you know what I mean? Or like arts connoisseurs saying that. And it's like, I just want to be happy and like make music and,
yeah,
you know, don't have to hold myself to a standard that's already been established for me. I can sort of redefine it for myself.
I gotcha. But you tend to find that in a lot of things, you know, especially anything that there's, you know, a competitive edge. So while, you know, it's still performance and everything, it seems that there's, you know, with it not being, you know, as huge of a cultural phenomenon, that there's only so many slots and you know, so many people vying for the same slots that it's going to get a little competitive.
And then the music schools never take that into account, of course. So they're going to take you and teach you beautiful skills, no matter if there's a job market for it at all. So I actually do think, though, that the younger generation is probably going to bring this back in a really cool way. You know what I mean? Because the old ways of things are dying now, especially now that we're all stuck home. Like all of these infrastructures that have been around for hundreds of years are like the whole thing with the stock market. You know about that?
No.
Okay, so apparently, I didn't read the whole story. Apparently, GameStop's
Oh yes, I did hear about this.
and a lot of people bought up the GameStop, and now like all of the major traders are like in shock and they don't know what to do with them because it's like regular people got some money and decided to invest it, like so people are sort of taking back their power from the gatekeepers and the structure and the hierarchy. And so opera is very guilty of a very corrupt hierarchy. They have to answer for a lot of racism and Me Tooism and all this stuff. Elitism, gatekeeper, all the things. And I'm sure like many arts always have to do. I'm not slamming.
And it's also it's an institution that is extremely old. The opera is been part of the lexicon for generations. So
yeah, and so that's starting to break down because I mean the Met is closed for however much time. I am hoping that the Met is beautiful and I want it to stay around, but I think there's a lot more opportunity going to come for smaller companies who can really do something and upstart and do it in a different way and not like the same way. And maybe take the music and make it a little bit more culturally relevant and like not have to sing these kind of tropes that don't exist anymore about like women being the servants and like I saw Turandot and it was like fabulous, amazing. And like Christine Goethe was like just so tremendous. And I was, with my best friend, we had a great time. But the whole point of the show was that she had to marry someone because she was the queen and she needed a king. That's the whole premise of the show. And so, but she was so sort of scorned by another man that she like kind of tricked all the men until they were beheaded and then she didn't have to get married to them. But they painted her like she was an evil shrew for just like killing all of these virtuous men. And I'm like, or she could just be the queen and just let it be. And then everyone would be happy. Like,
yes. Yes.
But no, we can't abide by that. So maybe there will be ways to honor these like beautiful works of music in sort of a new and more relevant way. And I think that opera has been resistant to kind of meeting the audience halfway.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to get the powerful elite to get on board with the new age, but with the way culture is shifting, it seems like the power is more in the people's hands these days. So hopefully other artists in the community are willing to speak up a little bit more.
Like the singers are cool ass people. Like they can maybe have a little more say about where the production goes or what they would like to see instead of just saying, there are so many sopranos, so I better our magical phrase in grad school from my teacher, and I love her to death. Her magical phrase was shut up and learn your scores. Shut up and learn your scores. She didn't mean it badly. She would just mean like, don't get into cast drama and gossip and everything. Like just shut up and learn your scores, because the bottom line is we are so expendable. Mm-hmm. But guess who cannot play Stevie M? Literally anybody else.
That's true. Find your own lane,
so I can I'm not a work of Puccini, masterful, whatever, but I do think there's room to make your own way too. But I do still love opera. I do have an entire line of jewelry dedicated to opera, and I still love the singers that are my friends and that I meet, and we have a lot in common you can talk about. I think I just don't like operating in that system.
Understood.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, leave the future is open, you never know what's going to happen, but you are so positive. You have like this great energy about you. But based off what you were just talking about, you must have gone through, a lot of strife, on your upcoming. So what have you gone through to get to this point where you seem to have such a positive outlook?
Oh, okay. Let me think about this. Okay. I think that I had a time where I was like a really shy kid because I I had sort of a rocky, I'm sure everyone has this rocky childhood story, but I moved to like a new school and I was a new kid and I just got like teased mercilessly. I was just like the new fat kid, and it just kind of like destroyed me. And so I literally had to just learn to like myself. You know what I mean? And I would never want to treat anyone like that. Like I hope that I haven't. And when we're kids, I guess I don't remember, but there was a kid in my 6th grade class. And by that time I like got a little bit cool. Like I had some friends and, but he was still kind of still nerdy and, and I got back in touch with him. We're cool, we're friends. But, he said about how people were so mean at that school. And I was like, I really hope that I wasn't a part of that. Because I have been a victim of that exact thing in the exact same school and it's not okay. And he was like, oh, no, you were so nice. You helped me with this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, good. So I think just like when you go through things where you're just like an outcast, you get very empathetic, you never want people to feel like that. So this judgment that we all put ourselves through. And I put myself through plenty of judgment too, because, if people don't like you, you start going like, well, what if I could just change myself? And then I would be so much more likable, even though that's probably not true. I think they just want to protect themselves and they just don't want to like someone because they can do it together and that will keep them safe. So I think that's part of it. And I was the target of a lot of body shame growing up. And so my platform is going to be body acceptance, body positivity, health for all, whatever. And you have to start understanding your own value as a person. And once you do, like everything changes. Like you don't bother with stupid judgment and you don't waste time on negativity and you do your self-care. And like, if I have anything to say as an artist of any kind, it's like, please do what you love and please love yourself. And please don't let anybody convince you that you are not a magnificent child of the universe. Like I'm so serious about that. I'm very like spiritual, airy fairy, woo woo kind of person. I took it off, but I was wearing a crystal necklace before. And I have a whole bowl of healing crystals over there with a pendulum and my little angel cards and stuff. And I use all that to just bring in the positive energy and just share it. And that sounds silly, but like all of these things are still like very 1st grade, free to be you and me. But seriously, like there is no one like each individual one of us. And so how dare you tell them, that they're not amazing and brilliant just because you don't see it. Maybe it's a problem with your eyes. Like, it's not a problem with my waistline. So, I think I guess that's it. I just want to be happy and I want other people to be happy.
That's beautiful. And, everybody's journey is different. And, kids can be so mean. And then out of those of us that, deal with the bullying and deal with the strife, usually it leads one of two ways. There's an understanding and an empathy that comes from that, or there's resentment and hatred that then, can breed all kinds of addictions. But doesn't mean that even if that's the road that's taken, that there isn't some sort of redemption, because regardless if that's the direction somebody goes, there's still all that understanding and empathy waiting there for one that can heal. I'm one of those people. I had a life of drug addiction after, a rough childhood, all that kind of stuff. But the same exact thing, going through all the things that I went through, it was just like, I don't want to feel like shit anymore. I don't want to feel terrible anymore. There's no reason for this, and found a better way. And, some people don't like the woo-woo stuff and the crystal stuff, but whatever works for you, for some people it's church, for other people it's crystals. I wear crystals too, so we'll just leave it at that. But I think it's also, as kids, it's hard to understand the world that's going on around us, and everybody just wants to fit in. And you know what? Some people just aren't going to fit in with each other. Right. And like, if we want to go woo woo here, science can explain that at a base level, everything in this universe is just matter, and it all combines and it creates things and manifests in multiple different ways. And, there's been lots of research on this, and each one of us has our own little electromagnetic field. And so we resonate at different frequencies. Everything, all of physical matter has like a baseline resonant frequency. And so some frequencies match up and they harmonize. Others do not. And I think that's why, like, throughout the years, you always see the same, like in high schools to college to then the workplace, you always see the same types of cliques of people. And I believe if we could figure out how to actually properly measure like resonant frequencies, you'd see, like, oh, these people resonate at this hertz. This,
yeah, and then there's the F sharp major chord over here, and they do not match.
Exactly. So, but then as kids,
maybe in some crazy jazz universe sharp 11 thing, maybe they do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just as kids, without understanding that, and you got this group of kids that have this set of traits, but then there's also some insecurities from whatever they're going through, so they take that out, through somebody else. But the
wait, no, F sharp. Never mind.
Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah,
I was just theorying in my brain.
So those of us that have dealt with that stuff, that seems to be the people that become the creatives, the musicians, the artists, the scientists.
I've been this kind of, I cannot play a sport. I swear to God. Oh, I've never had a sport. I can dance. I can remember choreography, but I will not hit this volleyball over. Like, it just will not happen. So I could never be like that. But I did go to camp. Like, camp was like my savior, because we were just down people. We just like hung out and were friends. And then I'm like, why am I such a nerd here, but I'm not such a nerd there? And then I realized it was my surroundings. It wasn't me, And so, and I shrunk myself here because of that. And I didn't shrink myself there. So I was like, what if I just went here and didn't shrink myself? Like, what if, and people did kind of start to fall in line. And then there were other people who would push back harder. And I kind of decided, like, you can be ridiculed for who you are not, or you could be ridiculed for who you are. Like, and so it's more fun this way.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, everybody's got their own journey, and it's who we are now is a collection of everything that we've gone through and how we process it and perceive it. But it's beautiful when you can come out on the other side and find positivity. I'm really big into positivity and finding your lane and sticking with it. It's not about of course, as tribal creatures, our biology makes us want to pack up, but at the same time, there's got to be an understanding. Well, who do I really want to belong with? It'd be fun to be part of this crew, but if it's not working, well, then it goes beyond, well, maybe I'm just not meant to be with that. Maybe I'm walking down the wrong path. For me personally, I try to come from an understanding of myself. What do I really want? Do I want to pursue this particular career or this project because I really want to do it, or I think it's going to help somebody else like me, or I think that's what somebody else is, this is going to gain, somebody's approval. So, I try to think of everything from that perspective.
But don't you also feel like the best thing that you can do for someone else is like show up healed?
Absolutely.
Like, do the work on yourself. It's not selfish to work on yourself. It's actually quite selfless, because you're not going to bring all of your negative kind of limiting beliefs and teach them to someone else.
Absolutely. We can only lead by example. And I always call it the selfishly unselfish. It's like...
Exactly. No, I'm like literally right there. This is what quarantine has done for me. It like gave me enough time. Like, we're going to work on ourselves. We're going to go back into the inner child. We're going to meditate. We're going to, whatever. And so I'm not there yet. I still get triggered by certain things, but I'm really working towards getting to a point where I can be at peace with everything, like no matter what, and just honor other people in their journey, even if that is not like a productive place, because it's all part of the learning, and maybe we're not here to do that. Some people are here to do some things and some people are here to do others. but I think, yeah, I think the most selfless thing we can do is just be happy. Because like, how many people, like, you say nice things to other people, you know, I'm not mean to anybody else, but then you'll hear, like, someone will hear you put down yourself. Like the thing I hear all the time is like, oh my God, I have gotten so fat. I am so fat. I've gotten so fat. And then I'm kind of like, I'm like a good 30 pounds more than you. So like, I understand now that you value skinniness, and thus you probably value me less when I am heavier, you know. And that's a big leap because they didn't say that. But like, if that person was like, oh, I got heavier and I love myself the way I am, I'm like, what a cool idea. I should try that. So I'm trying to be that, because we've all been sedentary for a little while.
I understand. Yeah, I'm there myself. But it's a matter of one's perception. And I think, you know, one thing that would be great to be taught is the power of vocabulary, because like me personally, I'm not as comfortable with my weight, or not. It's not even my weight. It's my I haven't been living as healthy as I would like to be. I have a son and I want to stick around for a little while, but it's not necessarily about self-image. But I could turn around and be like, oh, I've gotten so fat, I'm not taking care of myself. It's, you know, that comes from such a negative point of view. It's just, I'm not where I want to be. I could probably find a way to work on this. Just having the same thought, but the way it's verbalized or the words used are very powerful. And, you know, no, that's so true. The self-talk. Yeah. And what one person is going through, like, you know, somebody could be like, oh, I had this horrible thing happen to me. And it might seem like, to me, like something so superficial, but at the same time, that's their journey. That's what they're going through. So to me, it might be completely irrelevant, but to them, it means something, you know. So it's a very weird journey trying to coexist with a whole bunch of others. Yeah. So, but one of the beautiful things, you know, to help convey this is music. You know, that's one of the things that has always drawn me to music, is like, whether it, you know, even some of the most sad, negative songs, like, I've written some pretty sad songs. It's not that I mean to depress anybody, but in that moment, I had such a feeling that I needed to release from myself, and the best way that I know how is through song. And so, you know, sometimes the people have heard some of my music go, that sounds really depressing. Or a buddy of mine, he writes some depressing songs, but it's like, it's not that I you know, that like that I want to be there. It's just in that moment I was, and in order to not be, I created this song. That's my form of therapy.
And somebody else has that inside them and they don't know how to release it, and your song is going to make them feel seen, you know, and then they're going to be able to release from that song. Like, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I don't have any sad songs on my album, but I'm working on one.
Your songs are very catchy, very upbeat. It's great, with a great message behind it. You know, music could be anything. So
Phoenix is a little sad. Phoenix is about hard things,
but with a positive twist on it.
Yeah.
but no. So, but regardless of the lyrical content, it's what are we trying to, as musicians, when we put something out, what are we trying to do? One, here's my emotions. I'm giving it to you in a way that I hope that you connect with, you know? So, and that to me, that's the power of music.
100%. It's like the humanity. And that's why sometimes, like, and I was a big, like, I'm a singer, I'm going to show off and make you think I have a good voice. You know, and that was like my childhood, I guess. Because that was like, to me, it was like one of my one redeeming qualities. It was like, well, I'm fat, ugly, and nerdy, but I can sing, you know, like that was the thing I'm going to. But now, like, if a student goes like, did I sing that well? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, like, but if they don't have the heart and the emotion, if they're not really giving that, I'm not, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not impressed. Like, you know, and then I don't mean to be harsh, but like, it's like, yes, you hit the notes correctly in a pleasing way, but I am bored because you have not made me feel seen, you know, like making me feel seen.
I get it.
Because a good voice with nothing to say is what, you know?
Nothing but noise.
Yeah, it's a shiny car in the garage.
Mm-hmm. It goes the same for guitar as well. You know, there's a lot of instrumental bands that I like with some phenomenal guitarists that can play very technically. They can play in all different modes and scales, but it becomes robotic sometimes.
Is that who it is? The Yngwie Malmsteen?
Yngwie would definitely be one of them. You know, a lot of people love him, and you know, he's fantastic. But to me, his music becomes so robotic. Other than Trans-Siberian Orchestra stuff, that was fantastic. But I've seen him live, and his solo music, like, he's got great technique and he's super fast, but it becomes so robotic. It, like, he puts on a show, but it almost, to me personally, he seems so fake. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm great. Look how fast I can play this A major scale, and it's like, but there doesn't seem to be any soul behind it, like, you know, like a Jimi Hendrix, where you could feel that emotion as he's playing, you know, taking it to a more old school feel.
Well, you know what's funny though, I should out myself, because part of the other thing about singing classical music is that it is so technical. Mm-hmm. It is very easy to lose your soul in that. And I did a master class when I was in college, and I sang this hard Mozart piece that was really fast and had high notes and I just like to sing it fast. And the conductor was like, that's impressive that you can sing it that fast, but like, are you here to demonstrate your technique, or are you here to sing an alleluia? Like, you're singing alleluia. Like, what are you so happy about? I can't tell. And I was like, oh, right. And so it's very easy to get lost in that when you're trying to achieve this excellence and this certain level. But if it's not going to be a human experience, then it's just, you know, it could be played by like the Super Mario Brothers game. You know what I mean? Exactly.
And, you know, there's an ass for every seat. For some people, they like that, and, you know, they could care less. And, you know, it really comes down to personal preference a lot, you know, when it comes to music. But you can tell when, just like you said, when something doesn't have that soul, when you don't feel that emotion coming from it, you know, it's very noticeable. And one artist you should check out, I'm trying to remember what her name is, Alyssa White Glutz. She's a Canadian artist, and she's classically trained. I believe she was an opera singer as well, but then moved into heavy metal music, and she can do like all the screams and stuff, but then also has this beautiful voice behind it. So she switches between singing and, like, you know, clean vocals, but then also the dirty growls and stuff, you know, really using that training in a multitude of ways. She used to sing for this band, The Agonist. Now I believe she moved to I believe they're Swedish, the band Arch Enemy. She's a fantastic singer, but yeah.
And stuff has sopranos.
I'm sorry?
Nightwish and all them have sopranos. I might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Night Wishes, and In This Moment was another one. Evanescence, you know, all that stuff. But what makes her different, you know, and there's a couple of female artists out there with heavy metal bands that do like the screaming style vocals. But to me, she's one of the best because, again, having that classical training, she has such power and range that when she's doing her screams, they're so much cleaner and clearer than some other artists that you hear. Even, you know, like most people would say, well, men have the best scream vocals, and I'd argue that's not always 100% true, and she's definitely one of those ones that proves that wrong. And then also, like I said, she has a fantastic clean vocal, and you can hear that classical training. So that's why, you know, it's so interesting to hear your move from the classical style to the pop music. Like, having that classical training can really boost whatever you're moving into, you know, and like some of the most famous pop artists out there from yesteryear to today, you can tell the difference between, you know, they can put auto-tune on anybody now and they can go and sing something, it's fine. But still, to the ear, you can tell who's really got that soul and who's got that training.
Gaga has it.
Yes, absolutely. And she's a fantastic songwriter, a piano player, and that's why she's, you know, her, who's one of the other ones that's, is Ariana Grande classically trained? Because she has a fantastic, powerful voice as well.
She's a Broadway person.
Okay, so that's where it comes from.
She's on Broadway in her teens.
Mm-hmm. And then you could tell. You could tell.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She's amazing. And Alyssa White spells it the same way as my sister does, so that's cool.
Oh, there you go.
I was actually going to say, when you said about the clean scream, we went to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra last Christmas, not this past one. And as much as like they're not really my jam, they're my husband's jam, but like it's a little too like major chords for me, and like, and I feel like Bach didn't like need your help. Like, but it's cool, you know, introduce it to a whole new people in a whole new way. That's at least something innovative, like that's opera is not currently doing. So fine, I give it to them. I'm not the target demo. So, but the vocalists were insane. They sung for long things, hard things, high things, screamy things, smooth things, gospel things, rock things. And I just was like, I can tell exactly what they're doing.
So, you know, you've gone from classical singing, opera, getting, you know, work in that, now moving into the pop scene. But as you mentioned, you're also a singer. So walk us through that. How did you get into singing vocalist coach? How about that? There we go.
Yeah.
So how did you move into teaching?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a voice teacher. Like I grew up loving my voice teacher, Fran Kaufman in Wantagh. Go get her. Still teaching. So love her and love every, you know, other voice teacher I've had like different relationships with my voice teachers, but a lot of them just become like so close to you. Like you just know them so well. They know you. They know how to get you to do things, you know, and then, you know, singing is so emotional that you inevitably talk about your emotions. And I remember when I was learning to drive, my mom let me drive to my voice lesson, and I wasn't a good driver at first. And she was just freaking out at me and yelling at me the whole time. And then I got to my lesson and she's like, okay, what do you want to work on today? And I was like, and she's like, okay. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to your mom. Maybe you drive home from the lessons and not to the lessons. And so, you know, they're just always such wonderful people. And I was like, if I can do for someone what they have done for me, I will be a contributor to this world in a positive way. So I knew that you know, my parents would not let me take a music performance major, but so I decided to do a music ed major and also have a certificate in performance and then have a master's in performance. So I did the ed thing, but I knew I didn't really want to teach classroom music, though I did for like a little while. That was interesting, but it's not my true calling. But and so I started to build up the studio, and it took about 5 years. If anyone's like building up now because of like they're repurposing, I would say any business that you want to build takes according to my accountant, it takes about 5 years. And then you have enough referrals where you don't really need to do a lot of like big ads or anything, and you have enough relationships. But my students are amazing, and I love being the crossover studio where, you know, for my more classical teachers, I would feel like there was music I wanted to sing that I could never bring them. So I just sing it without help, you know? And then as an adult, I started going more into the contemporary styles of singing. And I was like, I really want someone to work the songs I'm actually doing with me and not just my audition songs that I once in a while get cast for. And so I sought out, with everyone's permission, I had a Broadway teacher and a classical teacher. So I really like the fact, I'm going to just adjust this. Okay. I really like the fact that I want to make the kids feel safe, and the adults. I have students from like 10 to like 70.
Wow. Running the gambit on that one, huh?
Yeah. So all of the people, and they all have different needs, and they all love different, like I have older gentlemen who want to sing Frank Sinatra and you know, Dean Martin, and I love that. And then the kids want to sing like Madison Beer, and like they all want to sing Driver's License now. So we're working on that. They all want to learn to belt. We try to do that very healthfully, but I don't shy away from it, because I think that's a skill that they all should have. And research backs up that it's not unhealthy for you, as I was taught when I was younger. And so that's amazing. I love doing that. You know, some of my students have gotten into cool like musical theater colleges and classical school college. I have one at Temple right now for classical boys. I hope she's doing well. And then we have some like, you know, all county and all state kids. Like it's so fun. I just love it. And the theater kids, you know, I get to help them prepare their roles. So, but I think it's really important that they know that I literally practice what I preach. Like I'm telling you to do this because I torture myself this way. And and it works for me, and you can try it. And if it works for you, that's great. And if it doesn't work for you, we'll try something else. So love that. I think I'm always gonna teach no matter what. Someone was like, if you were just rich, what would you do? Would you quit your job? It's like, I would just make more music.
You'd have the time and the money to make all the music you want.
But I really do think I would keep a small studio and just like, you know, and then it's funny because I have a lot of the kids from the district that I grew up in now. And so I get all into the gossip of like, what's going on at school? Who got this part and who got that solo? And it's like really funny. So if I can be that to at least some of the kids that I teach, then that would be great. Because I just love voice teachers. I just think they're great.
So when starting teaching, like let's say I was one of your new students, because I don't know much about vocal training. I've looked up little stuff here and there, some videos online. What's some of like the first things like we would start to go over, you know, to figure out where I'm at and where I need to be?
Okay, so I would probably just ask you a lot of questions about like, what do you like to sing? It's like really important to me that everyone sings what they like. Like I'm not that teacher who's like, you will sing these exercises and that's it. So it's like, what do you like and what do you want to do? And then what skills do you need for that? And then where are you with those skills? So it's like, I'll kind of just have you make sound, you know, be like, ma, just like make a sound. And then I'll use that as a clue to say, okay, that was in this range. So let's start in this range. And then we'll see where you're comfortable and we'll sing a lot where you're comfortable. And we'll get warmed up in there. And then I'll slowly start to branch it out. So if I can hear, like sometimes I can hear in people's speaking voice, and like, okay, you're a tenor, so I'm going to start you on this note. We're going to go up here. And then I'll say, oh, you're a tenor. Like one of my guys now has a beautiful voice. He's a tenor with like a nice low extension. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't expect that. That's exciting. So we can, and he writes music that he'll dip down also. And we talk about what that would be like to dip down and then have to come all the way back up for the tenor notes. And then sometimes people will say like, I need help because I can't sing at all. Like I can't match pitch. And a lot of the times the pitches that they're trying to match are actually out of their range. So that happens with basses a lot. Basses have a rough time because their transposition is so much lower than everyone else's. And so if I shift everything down, then I'm like, see how you matched all those pitches? That's where you belong. So there's a way to figure out every issue, and everyone can sing. You know, it's kind of like everyone can cook. Like I can cook myself dinner and like it, and it could be good. I'm not going to become a professional chef, but everyone can sing. You know, everyone can sing functionally. And then it's like, could I make you a professional singer? I don't know, because you have to want it that bad. And then they go, do I have the talent? And I'm like, think about all of these rich and famous singers who don't have the talent. Like, who cares if you have the talent? Do you know what I mean? Do you have the desire? Do you have the heart? Do you have something to say? Do you have the point of view? Do you have the presence? You know, look at J-Lo. Like, she's one of my favorite entertainers. Is she the vocalist that Whitney Houston was? Oh, no. And she wouldn't say she was what either, but she has a star presence, and she, you know, moves her body, and she's very entertaining, and you just want to look at her and listen to her. Saying that Gwen Stefani is another beautiful woman, very empowered, not my favorite voice, but, you know, but I still like to listen to her, you know? So it really is about, I mean, you could sell ice to the Eskimos. Is that what they say? I kind of say like it has to do with like your if you're 100% talent, and most people are like not, we're not perfect. If you're 100% talent, then you can be 0% salesperson. If you're 20% talent, then just be 80% salesperson.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. So, but you would say even somebody that doesn't have like, perfect pitch, all that stuff can be, taught. Like, well, not most people don't have perfect pitch to begin with anyway.
Right. I don't I have perfect pitch.
Yeah, so you're saying like at least all the tools, if the desire is there, anybody can pick it up. It's just, are you ready to do the work? Is there the desire there? Because it is an instrument. Some people forget, the vocal cords. It's an instrument, and it's like it's a muscle. It needs to be trained. You need to build it up slowly, and it's going to take time, and you have to have the patience for it.
And here's the frustrating thing. It's an instrument that changes shape every day.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if your piano was here and then it was like here? It would be hard. So we have to adapt. We have to just be an observer of what's going on inside. And we have to learn how to access these sounds that we have to make. So I'm like really big into like, what is this sound asking you to do? Is this sound asking you to scream? Is the sound asking you to talk? Is it asking you to sigh, to moan? Like, what is it? Because everything that is, you've already done.
Okay.
The challenge is, I think, the ear is a challenge. Everything can be worked on. Ear is a challenge, and timing is a challenge sometimes.
I've noticed that with a lot of singers.
If you don't know when, then it's like you know the what, you don't know the when. That can be just as scary. So I do try to teach my students the basics of voice, of sight reading too, sight singing. So that's fun.
And what about breath work? How important is breath work?
100%. Yeah, that's thing number one.
How do you work on building like a stronger diaphragm through breath work to be able to extend a note, to hit those ranges that you need? Because I know it all comes from breath. Obviously, we're using air to vibrate chords, to vibrate sound, vibrate the air in front of you to create sound. So like, how do you build that up? That sounds tough.
I think it is like the repetition. There is that, but I think also just being able to access that beautiful round diaphragmatic breath. And people think this mystery thing. Everyone does it every day. Like, oh, do we know this? Like, also you don't breathe from your diaphragm. People say like that's the big term. I breathe with my diaphragm. I'm like, you do. The diaphragm is engaged, but you breathe with your lungs.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Like, am I breathing wrong? Did you die? No, you're not breathing wrong. If you die, you were breathing wrong. So, so it's just a matter of like accessing that, and in a way, we're bypassing our fight or flight response, because like our like immediate breath is like this one, And so if we can bypass that and be calm, we're going to find that lower breath that we do every day. We're just not thinking about it when we're sleeping, when we're talking, when we're relaxing. And then we get to that breath, and then we'll use the air until we you ever get to the end of like the phrase and you're like, oh gosh, I'm running out of air.
Yeah.
Like this little red light thing that happens, but really you're not running out of air. It's just like your kind of like caveman sense is being like, breathe now, please don't keep going, because we need our reserves. So if you sing to the reserves, your body starts to go, wait a minute, we need a lot of air for whatever we're doing, so, and your lung capacity will actually stretch. So there are pieces that I have studied like in college, and then I'll take them out to give to a student or something, and I'll remember I breathed here and here and here and here, and I'll just go right through it and be like, oh, I guess that happens.
Yeah, what's funny is there seems to be some parallels. I remember learning about like free divers when they're practicing their breath work, holding their breath to be able to hold their breath for long amounts of time under the water. And I've heard the same thing is like when you think you're choking up and you don't have any more air, that's just your body hitting that fight or flight response. You actually probably have a lot more oxygen there than you realize, but you're so used to taking a certain timed breath every day that when you try to go past that, your body's just goes into freak out mode. So there's ways to get past that and expand that.
There's a spiritual practice I just learned about called, I think it's called Wim Hof, something like that.
Yes.
Exactly. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you breathe out until you have nothing and you sit there with nothing, or what you think is, it's not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of like, it's to teach you to calm yourself during that reaction, like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to the point with that. I'm not used to holding it at the bottom. I'm used to just releasing. I got to like 1 minute and like they went for 2 minutes.
Wow.
I was like, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was proud of myself for doing 1 minute, but that was it. So I'll see if I can get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the more you do it, you access the stretch, you'll stretch more, your lung capacity will get bigger. And you'll train your body to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be able to, and then that kind of free flowing air supports the sound. So you can relax a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And it'll just take you to the end. And there's nothing I want to always think about like involving the throat muscles. Like there's good tension and bad tension. Some things have to be tense, but to engage the throat muscles as little as they need to, you know what I mean? So divert the pressure somewhere. So it could be here, which is really strong. It could be your posture, which could be a really strong stance. We're diverting, you know, so whatever's the pressure that's going to need to be there, the tension needs to be there, but it doesn't have to be right there. You know, we can put it up in our little, you know, lift. So many cool things we can do. So yeah, I'm excited to keep working with that. And of course, like I learned so much from teaching too, like, because I was never a belter with classical training. And then I got trained that way, which I'm not like amazing at it, but as I teach, I get better at it. Cause I'm like, see, you gotta go, and I'm like, oh, see, I did it. Hey, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny when I'll like crack and they'll laugh at me and I'll be like, see.
It happens to everyone. But they say even in martial arts, those that teach martial arts and teach the basics usually are the ones that get the best, because that constant repetition builds the foundation that you then like, one day all of a sudden something just kicks in. It's like, oh, that's, you know, I didn't realize, you know, I could expand on that, you know, so.
Yeah, nobody is ever past the basics, probably of most disciplines, but like you'll never not have to think about your breath for it. But so there's never going to be a time where you don't have to go back to basics. It can always help you. But it's not as much of like a figuring it out process. You start to learn your body better and you just check in and go, you good? Okay, we're good. It's like, oh, here's a hard thing. Here we go. I know how to prep for that. You know how to build in the breath that you need, you know, and there's no shame in breathing. You don't have to always get it in the one breath.
There's a lot more moving parts than I think most people would ever realize, which goes to show some of the, you know, the top singers out there who are also performers, like how difficult of a job they have, because all the things you were talking about, how to apply pressure from the diaphragm, a little bit from the throat, and all, you know, the breath and hitting pitches, and there's all these things you got to do. And then for these performers, they're also dancing on top of it as well, you know, in the pop scene. So it's, you know,
and the Broadway scene too. Yeah.
Oh, that's in musical theater, exactly. So you know,
you have to work that stamina.
Yeah,
sure.
It's so for anybody that's out there like, pop stars, they got the easiest job in the world. No, not really. So,
yeah, no.
So what's your aspirations now? You have your EP out when things start to get back a little bit to normal, and you know, hopefully your immune disease is a little bit more calmed down and taken care of.
I mean,
are you looking forward to doing any performance with your new music?
Maybe. I think I got into this recording because it was just a little bit more forgiving. So if anything acted up, I could be in sort of a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to sing out. I do love to play out and sing out. I kind of, my like big thing is I would love to be just like in the parties And then there's the background singer in the movie, not part of the movie, just like there doing the music. Like, I totally want to do that. Like, you know what I mean? I just want my song in the background of some bar scene, or like in a commercial for stocks, you know? Like, that's what I would love. I just want to be a part of things, you know, like, but it doesn't have to be in a direct way.
Okay, so fine, just being a recording artist keeps things a little bit safer, and the freedom you have in the studio, like to have a thought, have a sound, start putting it down, and maybe it's not there yet. You have all this time to really tweak things and really take the journey, and then the performance is, you know, the final product, and you don't really have as much leeway to mess around with it after that, you know.
But there's nothing like, you know, being in front of a live crowd.
Exactly.
Like, literally nothing. I did a Zoom concert for a synagogue last week or 2 weeks ago. And it was just like, oh my God, singing for people again. And I put it in gallery view so I could watch all their faces, and like they were muted, but I could tell they got some of my jokes, you know? And it was just like, this feeling. So I'm not done with that. I'm not done with that. I'll be a little more judicious, because I used to be that musician to take every gig. I took every gig. I was kind of a whore. With the gigs. I took things that were below what I should have. But it was just important for me to stay active, and there is something to that. But then there's a point where you have to, your time and your piece is worth something, and you should be paid what that something is.
Yeah, in the local rock and heavy metal world, that's always a tough thing. That there was a meme that was going around for the longest time. It's like, you know, a rock musician will spend $2,000 on equipment, you know, buy a $500 van, put $100 in gas to go get paid for a $20 show. Like,
you know, and like free drinks and
yeah.
Exposure.
Yeah,
because exposure pays the bills.
Yeah, exactly. It's for a lot of us, it's a labor of love. Even there's a heavy metal band that I absolutely love called Periphery. I talk about them all the time, probably ad nauseum. But the guys in the band, they always say, and they're a huge band, and they do a lot of their own self-production, so they get to eliminate a lot of the cost. But they're fantastic, and they do, you know, world tours, but they don't make that much money off of it. And they say in their documentaries, like, we didn't get into, if you're getting into metal for music, then you're in the wrong, I'm sorry, if you're getting into metal for money, you're in the wrong business, you know. But it's more than just metal. The local music scene it can be, you know, it could be grueling. But to me, it doesn't matter if there's 2 people in the audience or 1,000 people in the audience. The live performance, just being able to be in front of people, it's
I tell you.
Yeah, it's a feeling that you just can't explain to people. You really can't.
There's a meme that I saw, which was like, it was like a financial planner or something with a musician, and he was like, "So what are your goals for the future?" And he was like, "Play a gig." And he's like, "No, I mean the long-term future." And he was like, "Play 2 gigs." It's like, yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So, you know, we do what we can do. But I think, you know, the cool thing about now is like your music can be reached by anyone, anywhere. And like, you can become some random person in Iowa's favorite song, you know, like, so it's not, and then also the local scene, people want to support local people, which is what this whole podcast is about, which is amazing. So I think there's that too. Like there's that, you don't have to be for the whole world. You can be for the people that you are for.
That's,
you know?
correct. Yeah.
So there's a way to do it.
Absolutely. In the end, it's just a form of expression. It's a form of therapy. So, you know, as long...
No, it's not cheaper than therapy, is it?
Probably not in the long run when you think about it. Microphone, studio time, equipment. Yeah, probably not. But again, it's a labor of love. And, you know, for me, I know I wouldn't take it away for anything else in the world. So.
Yep.
So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're gonna link all your stuff in the links down below on our YouTube page. We just want to let everybody know If you'd like to hear Stevie have a live performance, make sure to check out our playlist. Your music's going to be out everywhere. Please check out the EP. Some of the songs might be mistitled, but please just check them out. I guarantee it's worth a listen. You're going to bop your head. You're going to tap your foot. I guarantee it. So, Stevie, any parting words?
Just thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Everyone can reach out, and I'll talk with them about vocal technique or fun positivity things.
If you're looking to sing, hit up Stevie. She's got you.
No, but we'll see.
Hey, there's always Zoom. It seems to be working. So
no, we're doing everything on Zoom. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. So, all right. Again, thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night. See you next time.